Google has just made a series of announcements at Google I/O, a conference where they unveiled a lot of new things. We're going to break it down all in this video. We'll talk about Google Omni, their new video model first. We'll cover updates to Google's AI subscription, which are getting cheaper. I talk about coding also with Google, and we'll also talk about the new model, Gemini 3.5 Flash. There's a lot to discuss. So is Google making a real comeback in the AI race? Let's get into it. And we'll start with the first major topic, Google Gemini Omni, which is Google's new flagship model, an omnimodal model. It handles video, audio, and text and bring in everything together inside one single model. And Google is starting with the video side of it. That's what they unveiled first. Broadly speaking, you'll be able to generate ultra realistic videos, edit them however you want, and even modify your own existing videos while keeping an incredible level of consistency. Let's go through it together. Look, watch the demo and comment on, and I'm going to comment on what I'm seeing. Look at this. Concretely, this means the person simply filmed themselves with nothing in their hand and then ask Google to add fire afterward. And you can see how realistic it looks. Here we have also a complete style transformation. This is extremely difficult to do in such a realistic and coherent way. Watch this, we go from a puppet style look to black and white to a pixelated style, and everything remains remarkably consistent. It's very, very well done. You can also do a lot more. Honestly, I find this completely mind-blowing. Google talks about building also new words, and yeah, that really is what it feels like. You can change the entire visual environment almost in real time. Of course, we have to see how well it works in practice, but what I really like is this kind of videos. It's really awesome. It's really well made. For example, look at this. If you want the fish to move from one point to another, you simply draw the path and the fish follows it. You can do whatever you want with the video. You can change the character, switch from an astronaut to a fish, change the background, change the style, and even alter an existing video. It's just incredibly powerful. This comes directly to compete with models like Seedance and, of course, Sora, which has clearly lost momentum at OpenAI. They shut down the Sora app and so on. Yeah, but Google is not giving up on video models at all. They also published a number of demos showing that physical realism, especially gravity, is handled extremely well. You can see it here. Look at this bee moving. Look at this ball moving through a very complex course, and it looks remarkably realistic. We can see many other examples. Look, kayaking, for instance. Yeah, it's wild. And this model also handles sound. As I told you, it's not only a video model, it's an audio also model. It generates all the associated sound effects as well in an ultra realistic way. This is like the successor of VO3. And in short, this is clearly the new benchmark for video models. It's what Google has just done here is extremely impressive. And if you want to use Google's video models and generate videos yourself, the best tool is Flow. Google Flow is excellent for creating videos, films, or more specifically short films. You can connect one video to another because by default, video models usually generate clips of only around 8 seconds. With Flow, you can create longer videos by making the end of one clip serve as the beginning of the next one and extend the sequence that way. And now they've added a whole new option that lets you create your own tools inside Flow. This is also insane. It's almost like building your own Photoshop or After Effects or your own custom video control interface. You design your own tools to control your videos. In the demo, the user simply writes a prompt like create a tool that let me add the text to my videos, change the font, and customize the appearance. And the system basically creates a personalized video editor for them. You can add exactly the options that matter to you. I found that completely mind-blowing. This is customization pushed to the absolute maximum. This could potentially replace tools, like Adobe Premiere, DaVinci Resolve, and others. The idea is that over time, you may be able to build exactly the tools you need to achieve your creative goals directly inside the platform. We're talking about shaders, tracking, texturing, and many other advanced capabilities. So this is incredibly powerful. Google also added the whole agentic layer to Flow. you can now work with Flow much more directly to create things. One example they gave was asking it to help brainstorm video ideas or shape the content of a video. The demo quality itself was here it's my connection. The demo is not really clear, but you can see that Gemini is directly integrated into Flow to help you generate ideas and work alongside you. Then you can tell it to add this or that character in the video. So yeah, it is still Flow, but with a much more agentic approach for more customization and more autonomous. It works more like an agent, in fact. And yeah, it's better suited to complex creative workflows. You can even change the entire style of video in one go for even multiple videos in one go. So again, Flow is something I'm genuinely excited. This new Flow is something I'm genuinely excited to test. I have used it in the past and it already worked extremely well. Now with this whole agentic layer added on top, I think it could become even better. The agentic side of Flow, like I said, is very interesting, but it is far from the only major announcement at Google I/O. They really announced a lot of stuff. They announced Gemini 3.5 and Gemini 3.5 Flash. I highlighted the Flash version because this is clearly going to become one of Google's key models. And the most impressive part is its speed. Gemini 3.5 Flash is supposed to be extremely fast. Look at the number of tokens generated per second, around 289 tokens per second. That is incredibly quick. Compare that with Claude or GPT 5.5, which are closer to 70 tokens per second. Google's model is roughly 4 times faster. And that is probably thanks, at least in part, to Google's hardware advantage. They build their own infrastructure. They do not rely entirely on NVIDIA or other external suppliers. They have their own TPU chips, these hardwares that are really, really fast. It makes the model fast and it gives Google a real competitive edge over other players. So a fast model, also a highly capable model. Google compared it in benchmarks with Opus 4.7 and Gemini 5.5, and it appears to be operating in the same league. In some benchmark, it even beats them. Of course, benchmarks are not everything. Real-world usage matters far more. So now the real question is, how good is Gemini 3.5 in actual day-to-day use? It looks like it's a very strong model. It's fast, it's powerful, and generally impressive. And yeah, that's a win for Google, but we have to test it for a few days or few weeks to have a definitive answer. Now, the thing that it's more complicated is the price. This model is expensive. Google has clearly positioned it as a premium model. We're talking about $1.5 per million input tokens and $9 per million output tokens. To give you a point of comparison, Gemini 2.5 Flash was priced around $0.3 for input and $2.5 for output. So this is much more expensive. Output is more than 3 times pricier and input from 0.3 to 1.5. So yeah, it's a significant increase. I hope the price comes down over time, but at the same time, this is also one of the realities of AI. The more capable these models become, the more expensive they can be to run. Pricing also helps company manage demand and capacity. Still, I do hope Google brings the cost down gradually, especially because open source models are becoming more competitive too. But overall, Google is making a very strong move here. And now we get to everything around coding, which I think is probably the most important area of all. AI-assisted software development is arguably the segment that works best today, and it is also the one generating the most revenue. And that is one of the reasons Anthropic has been growing so fast with Claude Code. They were the first to really push this category forward, and now everyone is trying to catch up. Google is also expanding its subscription lineup. They are introducing a new plan around $100 per month. Previously, there was only the $250 a month, and this plan now has moved down to $200, so a 50% decrease. And Google has added this intermediate subscription at roughly $100. And this is a smart move. It is much more. It is cheaper than the previous Ultra plan. It gives a lot more capacity, 5 times the Google AI Pro plan. But in reality, they have just copied Anthropic again. They added a new plan around the $100 mark, which is the same as Anthropic's plan and ChatGPT and Codex plan. So yeah, same thing for them. And of course, if you are using that plan, there's no doubt that you're also using Google Antigravity. This is Google IDE. It's a tool for developing code. And once again, they announced update for this. They unveiled Antigravity 2.0 with a better interface and especially an interface designed to work with many more agents. You can see their interface here. You know what? I'm going to show you the announcement video where they presented the tool. So as you can see, it already looks much better than before. You have the chat section, of course, but also the plans, the discussion, and the agent models. It's much more visual than something like Claude Code CLI, the command line interface, which mainly works. Almost everyone I know used the Claude Code through the command line, and yeah, this is more visual. But like I said, Google is copying Anthropic, and this is they just announced a new feature that is a direct copy of Anthropic. They unveiled Antigravity CLI, the Antigravity command line interface, and once again, the goal is attracting developers. So here you can clearly see that Google is mostly trying to catch up. And yeah, that is a shame because we should not forget that Google created the transformer technology. Transformers are the foundation of most AI models today. That is the T in ChatGPT. Google was clearly at the origin of all of this, but they failed to commercialize it properly. They were afraid to launch a chatbot. They were worried about the consequences if the chatbot made mistakes, gave wrong answers, and so on. And OpenAI did not have that problem. And they were right to move forward. Now everyone is copying them, and today everyone is also copying Anthropic. Because Anthropic made a very clear strategic choice. They essentially said, let others play around with video models, nano banana, image models, and also the flashy tools and video tools. And in the end, they just went for code. And yeah, code is probably the part that generates the most revenue. And this is where Anthropic is seeing its revenue grow by roughly 10 times year after year. And that growth is still continuing. Google is also making much more money thanks to token usage. They have just announced an almost absurd increase, something like 7-fold or 9-fold growth in the number of tokens processed every month compared to last year. But Anthropic growth is still more impressive. They have something like 10 times. They have a growth of they 10x every year. And speaking of Anthropic, let's move on to another piece of news. Andrej Karpathy, one of the co-founders of OpenAI, has just announced that he's joining Anthropic. This is quite surprising. Anthropic was clearly a competitor, but at the same time, Andrej has left OpenAI a while ago, and he also worked at Tesla. And we should not forget that Anthropic itself was funded by former OpenAI people. So in the end, it's not that strange to see him go there. This is a bit of AI transfer market news in a way, the AI Mercado. We were not really expecting that Karpathy was going to go to Anthropic because he seems more in working independently, posting things on X, sharing very interesting AI experiment, exploring ideas on his own. He had also a focus on education, but now he's going to work on the next generation of models, especially on the training side. He will help develop new models at Anthropic. So using Claude Code to increase the speed or have models more performant. So yeah, it's a shocking news, but it's a good news for Anthropic. All right, this is what I wanted to share with you today about the latest news. Let me know whether you enjoyed the content and feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you again for a video about crypto, but I wanted to do this one about AI. And we will see the reaction. Maybe I'll do more video about AI, maybe more about crypto. Let's see what you guys think. And if there are specific topics you would like me to cover, whether videos, tutorials, or anything related to AI or crypto, feel free to leave your ideas in the comments. This is exactly what they are here for, and feel free to provide feedback also. Bye-bye.